Welcome to Club Soda's Mindful Drinking Festival. We're online, global, and as always, absolutely free. Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm one of the co-founders of Club Soda.
And I'm Laura, the other co-founder of Club Soda. We help you change your drinking in ways that help you live well. So whether you're looking to cut down, stop for a bit or quit, you can find what you need from podcasts and books and courses on joinclubsoda.com. This festival, we've brought you an amazing lineup from over 100 people from across the world.
And our programme this time really is global.
Every day starts down under with me, Sarah. As well as organising the festival in Australia, I spend my time looking for alcohol-free alternatives and tips for people who choose not to drink, but who still want to live a social, fun and adventurous life.
And I'll be wrapping up each day here in the States. I'm Amanda, your US festival host and coordinator, and I'm also a mindset coach who helps women change their relationship with alcohol so that they can start living their most authentic life.
Each day with a rolling programme of inspirational panels, conversations, social events, and opportunities to discover new low and low alcohol drinks.
So whether you want inspiration to change your drinking,
Or to connect with other people,
or you want to discover and enjoy a new low and no alcohol drink,
The Mindful Drinking Festival is for you.
cheers!
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 cheers.
Hi and welcome. This is Janey Lee Grace and I'm here with Rob Hobson. Welcome to the Mindful Drinking Festival. This session is called Eat Yourself Sober, and we're talking all things nutrition and health and well-being and all of that stuff. And really thrilled that my guest is Rob. We'll find out a bit more about Rob in just a moment. For those of you who don't know what I do, I'm a presenter and an author of several books on holistic living, and I run thesoberclub.com. I ditched the booze, my goodness, 2.5 years ago now. Way amazing. And so my sober club is aimed at people who want to live their best lives without alcohol, because it's never just about ditching the booze. So we look at a whole host of things, and nutrition is big time. Of course, it is the thing that underpins everything. So Rob, you're a registered nutritionist from robhobson.co.uk. Tell us just a little bit generically about the work you do first, and then we'll get into the whole where it meets sobriety thing.
Yeah, so I'm a registered nutritionist. I work a lot with industry. I'm the author of 2 books, the Detox Kitchen Bible, The Art of Sleeping. I do a lot of nutritional messaging on TV, radio, anything around nutrition I try and get involved in, basically. And I've worked a lot in public health as well over the years. That was my basic training. So I've worked with groups, community groups, which kind of filters into what we're talking about today, actually, the challenges of behaviour change and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, there'll be a lot of people watching this, and I know that there's lots of people in the Sober Club who, when they first stop drinking, or even if they decide to do a dry January or a dry July, whatever it is, what they're really thinking is, I want to lose weight. And they've heard that that's one of the benefits of ditching the booze. And so I know it was the same for me. When I first stopped, I fully expected to be sleeping brilliantly. I know you've got a book called The Art of Sleeping. We'll touch on that.
Yeah.
I expected to be sleeping brilliantly and have tons of energy and feel really happy and amazing, and have lost at least 1 stone within 3 weeks. Now, that did
How did that
not
go for you?
happen. And of course, over the months, I've learned that this is absolutely, a marathon. It is so not a sprint. So can you just explain to us, in terms of, we'll get on to really important stuff about nutrition, but let's just clear away those myths to start with, that immediately you stop drinking, you're going to ditch that weight.
Yeah, I think it is a myth. There's a lot more to losing weight than just ditching the booze, and the booze does add, those liquid calories that do contribute to weight gain. But often what happens is people start replacing that with other things in their diet. So, people might start thinking about, they might say, right, I'll find an alternative drink, but not understand that the drink they're replacing it with is maybe full of sugar. So, you're still getting all those calories. You're not having the alcohol, which is great, but you're still getting all of those calories on top. Even things like these non-alcoholic, like gins and things that you can get now, people are still adding, sugary tonic water to it and not realizing. So that's one thing. And I think as well, looking for snacking might be something. If you're used to that glass of wine in the evening, you might have a less tendency to snack because you've got your wine, but actually without the wine, you might start scrabbling around for snacks. And obviously evening time is when people are more prone to snacking. So you're just taking in excess calories, and you just might not even realize, you know, what you're substituting, how much extra you're getting. You probably could be getting more than you got with the wine. So it's taking a whole approach to this and not just looking at the giving up alcohol, because there's a bit more that needs to be done to tackle the weight loss.
Yeah, it is difficult though, isn't it? Because, you know, now I always say to my clients, actually focus on, if ditching the booze is important to you, focus on that first, because it's really hard to kind of do everything at once, isn't it? And one of the main issues, as you quite rightly say, is that people then switch one addiction for another, and almost all of us get this kind of sugar head on, don't we, when we first stop drinking. Can you explain to us what's going on with the sugar piece? So in terms of alcohol, how much sugar are we getting? How does that sort of work in the body? And why do we get that craving for sugar? Is it literally because the body is saying, oh, where's my glass of wine gone that's been giving me all this sugar? Now I'm going to crave sugar from something else.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I mean, what I will say is that when you're drinking alcohol, obviously the alcohol turns to sugar, especially things like wine. So you will, you know, you could experience a drop in blood sugar, because this is one of the reasons why we maybe wake up once we've had a lot to drink during the night. And it could be one of the reasons in the morning why we start to crave, you know, the unhealthy foods, you know, the typical, I want a fry-up or whatever it is people want. So there is that element of it. But I think, you know, it's like when people are trying to avoid comfort eating and snacking, there's a habit attached to it. You know, people at night, or when people want to eat something sweet after they've had their meal, these are habits that are ingrained in a very early age, childhood, you know, that you can have something sweet once you've eaten. So the same thing could be with this evening. You know, you automatically associate it to this drink, which is sugary, and your body could be just craving a similar type of thing as part of that habit. I think it's less physiological. I think it's more just psychological, for something to replace it with. And you're going to look for something satisfying that makes you feel good, because you might also be feeling, once you're given up alcohol, like, oh, you know, I really like that. And the next, and you know, we don't all like eating a bowl of kale as a replacement. So, you know, that you're going to seek out foods that give you that pleasure. You know, it's this hedonic type eating type theory that, you know, you eat foods out of pleasure. So I would say it was more that than the psychological thing. So
how do we change that mindset then? Because, you know, it's obviously, as we're humans, and we do seek out pleasure, don't we? And if you're trying to do something really hard, then, you know, in the early weeks, if you deprive yourself, I mean, what I've always found over the years is that diets don't really work, because if you deprive yourself, you normally end up eating far more of the thing you're not meant to eat.
It takes a very long time for people to, and it takes a long time for people to figure that out, right? So I think what you said earlier was really interesting. You know, deal with one thing at a time. I think what people do, especially in New Year, is they go, I'm going to go on a massive health kick, and I'm going to give up sugar, I'm going to give up alcohol, I'm going to give up everything. And it just doesn't work. And I think that what you need to do is take it in small steps. So the thing with behavior change is, you know, think of what it is you want to change, and think about the reasons why you want to change that, and then work out your strategy. So if it's alcohol, and you think, right, I don't like it to drink too much, and I do that at night, you need to think of ways that you can then fill your night, achievable ways that are really, really realistic. Whether that's, you know, as soon as I feel like a drink, I'm going to make sure I keep myself busy. I'm going to go for a walk maybe, or whatever it is. Obviously that'll help with the weight loss. You know, it might be that you say, right, I'm going to have, when I feel like that thing, I'm going to have a low calorie hot chocolate drink, or whatever it is, but just work out what it is that's really going to work for you. It's like a small changes approach. And like you said, I think giving up alcohol or cutting back is really hard if you're used to drinking every night, even if it's just a glass. You get into it, don't you? So I think focus on that, and then you can move into all the other stuff that you want to look at. So if then you want to focus on your weight loss, then think about how you're going to do that. And with weight loss, I wouldn't go hell for leather and avoid fatty diets. They don't work. For me, it's about taking a small changes approach, look at the way you're eating now, and think about how you can shape that and tinker it to cut off those calories, get more healthy stuff in, focus on that, getting more healthy in, than cutting out. and approach it that way. And like you said earlier as well, which is really good advice, is it's go into it for the long haul.
game.
You get much better results. Yeah, much more sustainable results than doing it short term and becoming a potentially yo-yo dieter, which is not good for you, not good for your health.
Well, what's your view then on counting calories? There are so many different views on this. I'd love to know yours. I mean, I know it wouldn't work for me. I couldn't be that rigid. It would just freak me out if I had to start looking at, weighing everything and look at every single thing I eat, worry about the calories. And surely all calories are not equal, are they? The calories that I'm going to get in an apple, it's not going to be the same, is it, if it's a donut? Can you just share some of the basics with us?
Yeah, it doesn't work for everyone, but what I think it is a really good benchmark for a lot of people. So if you're in a shop and you're looking for something to eat, and normally and you're looking for something healthy as a snack, at least if you've got a calorie labeling, it helps you to make a choice. But like you said, not all calories are created equally. So, you could go on a diet and you've got to eat 1,200 calories a day. You could eat that in broccoli, or you could eat that in Mars bars, and they're both not the same nutritionally. So it works for some people that need that structure, but it doesn't work for other people. For the people it doesn't work for, you need to understand your appetite and and your satiety. You need to know when you're full, and you need to know when you're hungry. And that is the most difficult thing, I think, is understanding that. And then you can think about just what you put on your plate. I mean, if you put a lean protein, some nice whole grain, a little bit of whole grain carbs, and fill your plate with vegetables, you're doing something right there, and it's probably going to go in the right direction compared to what you were eating before. So I think there's loads of different approaches, and it's really what works for some people. But like I said, a lot of people find calories a really useful way to make that food choice. I think Weight Watchers have changed their way they do it. It's like,
I heard that actually.
And even the government's got a new campaign here in the UK that you look at so many calories for breakfast, so many for lunch, and so many for dinner. And that's really helped a lot of people to navigate what they should be eating a day. So it works for some, it doesn't work for others. And that's the whole thing, isn't it? Everybody's different, and there's no one size fits all. So it's whatever works for you. Yeah.
But as you say, the proportion of food is really important as well, isn't it? In the UK, we used to have this thing called the healthy plate, or the what do they call it? The eat well plate. Eat well plate. And one of my friends, who's also a nutritionist, calls it the eat badly plate, because it depends how you interpret that. I mean, what really is a healthy plate in terms of proportion?
Yeah, they have worked on this plate actually, and it has developed over many years since I think it was the 90s, late 90s at first.
Yeah, that was when it came out, didn't it? When of course things were different.
Yeah, things were different. I mean, I started studying nutrition in 2000, so it was drilled into us. And I wouldn't knock the government on this, because I think what they've done is they've tried to make it much easier to understand. The problem is it's a plate, and people think it's about what I put on my plate, and it's meant to be a proportion of what you eat across the day. My view is, you need to, you need a bit of protein in your diet, and you should choose lean proteins. You need to, if you're going to eat carbohydrates, and I would advise you do, but if you're trying to lose weight, you might want to keep them to a minimum. Always choose whole grains, because fiber is really important, especially for weight loss. Explore plant-based foods, pulses, nuts, seeds, those kind of things. And then when it comes to the bad foods, what they do in this plate now is they talk about foods you need to eat more of. So don't focus on the bad fats. Focus on what you need to get in your diet: olive oil, oily fish, these kind of things, and more vegetables. People in this country, only 30% of people in this country eat 5 a day. And I think the average is about 4 servings. And we now know from research that we probably need to be getting more. Should be 10.
Far more,
Yeah, and just eating more veg is the one thing you could probably do to make the most difference to your health. And I'm going beyond weight loss here, but so it's common sense. And I think a lot of people really do know what they have to do now, because it's been drummed into us. I think the problem is getting on with it and doing it. And there's lots of different reasons why people find this difficult. If you look at this report called the Foresight Report, it puts obesity in the middle. And there are hundreds of factors as to why people can't lose weight. It is not a case of, I just eat too much and I don't move enough. It's really much more than that. So it's a complicated issue. Yeah,
it really is.
I'm back on weight again, but
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. By the way, I completely forgot to say, if anyone would like to ask a question, you're very welcome to pop that in the box. Sorry, I meant to say that at the beginning. But any questions, if we can answer them for you, I'm sure Rob will. You're quite right. Of course, I always think about this when it comes to, sort of obesity and being really overweight. It's not that we're not eating enough, it's that we're eating the wrong stuff. You're overeating, and yet you're undernourished in so many cases. It's
and not even that. We're bombarded as well. There's this thing that's coined the obesogenic environment. We're bombarded with exposed to food that is really delicious. We're programmed to want high energy dense food. It's in our DNA. So when people are struggling to lose weight and they're presented with this, and I mean, the UK has just introduced our new obesity strategy by Gordon Brown. Shame it took a pandemic to try and cure a pandemic, but we're getting there again with an obesity strategy, which is really good. And, one of the things there is tackling things like buy one, get one free. I think chocolate bars at the till, buy this and you get 2 free, pound shops that are selling massive bars of chocolate for £1. These are the things that need to be addressed to help people to lose weight, and not just telling them to go on a diet, because there's much more than that. And if they're going to try and make a healthy food choice, they need to be put in an environment that just makes it a bit easier to do. And obviously, if you're going to start doing that, reducing the cost of healthy food is another issue for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it should be the bog off, the buy one get one free on the cabbages, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or the broccoli.
You never see that, do you? You never see that. So yeah,
it's very true. Let's just talk a bit about how food affects our mood, because one of the things that I'm really fascinated about is when we stop drinking, our brain chemistry is all over the shop. I mean, I was an absolute roller coaster, and when I stopped drinking, I literally forgot everything I know. Literally, it was just hilarious. Now I look back, what the hell? I just completely forgot to take any supplements or eat properly or do any of the things that I now encourage people to do. So I really went through it, and I was sleeping really badly. Again, we'll touch on that in a moment. I know that my emotions were all over the place. I now know that I would have been massively lacking in dopamine and serotonin and GABA. Can you just explain for us how nutrition is that key piece with the brain chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, to start with, I think what you need to start with the basics. So think about your blood sugar levels to start with. So if you're giving up and you're not eating properly, you're maybe skipping meals, or you're picking the wrong type of food, or you're going for lots of sugar. Your blood sugar's up and down. That isn't going to make you feel very centered, and it's going to be very difficult for you to feel. It's not dramatic, but it could be enough to make you feel less centered and less like you're being healthy, especially if you're skipping meals and then you're scrabbling around for something to eat and you're going to pick something unhealthy. In terms of what's going on in the brain, there are certain nutrients that are important for our brain chemistry. Magnesium is often spoken about when it comes to anxiety and mood. Magnesium actually binds to GABA receptors in the brain, and that helps to quieten down the activity and sort of calm you down a bit. It's something that I talk about when people are trying to sleep. It's very difficult to absorb magnesium from food, actually, and a lot of people don't get enough in the UK. So it's one of those nutrients that is probably good.
How would you advise it, by the way, just to interrupt there for a moment? In terms of the magnesium, I mean, do you recommend the the magnesium salt baths that you can get?
Yeah, I mean, you can absorb magnesium is really interesting, actually, because you can absorb it in gels, you can absorb it in the bath. I think first of all, I'm food, so I'm focused on food first. So think about nuts and seeds, dark green vegetables, plant-based foods, pulses, lentils, those kind of foods in your diet. I don't think there's any harm in taking a supplement. So you might want to take a magnesium supplement. Magnesium citrate or malate is more easily absorbed in the body. You want like 375 milligrams. We'll take a dose of about that, which is the recommended daily intake. So that's a good way to do it. Magnesium sprays are available, so they're absorbed much more easily on the tongue and into the body. So yeah, that kind of thing can help, and I think it's worth a go. If you are worried about your diet and that you're not getting everything you need, then you could just start by taking a multivitamin and mineral supplement. Your body gets depleted when you drink a lot of various nutrients like B vitamins. They're not utilized properly when you drink alcohol. And magnesium as well, I think, is there. And so there, I think it's not a bad idea to maybe invest in a multivitamin. The other thing about magnesium, which is interesting, is when you get very stressed, you lose it from the body. You lose it in your pee. The body just responds to stress that way. So what we haven't really talked about, and it's probably one of the things that's quite an issue, is learn to manage your stress. That's one of the reasons people drink. So if you want to stay on the straight and narrow, you might need to address your stress as well, because that could be your Achilles heel. And obviously nutritionally, that's not going to do you any favors. It's going to affect how you eat, and it's going to affect how your body uses certain nutrients, B vitamins, magnesium, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, as we said earlier, I think, as you said, weight loss and weight management is about so much more than just what we eat. Yeah. There really is that sort of psychological piece, and the whole link with comfort eating, isn't there? And that thing of I want to treat, and we're sort of programmed, aren't we, that treating ourselves, that good self-care, we tend to think of as consuming something sweet.
We do, but there's other ways to treat yourself.
Exactly.
If you're into music, go and book a concert ticket, or if you like books, go and buy yourself some books. But like I said, from an early age, many of us are told, if you eat this, you can get this treat, which is a sweet food, and that gets ingrained in us.
Yeah, totally. Let's just whiz through some of the real basics for people then. If they're like me when I first stopped drinking, literally I couldn't remember anything I knew. So in case there's anyone in my situation, can you just share with us a few basics that's kind of good advice for everybody? I mean, we've already said really ensuring that you get those vegetables, that at least 5 portions, preferably 10, and the dark green leafy vegetable, that's really important. And you mentioned the protein. Again, what would people, if you're vegan or vegetarian, what would you recommend that works in protein? Because I always say try and have protein with every meal, certainly the first few weeks. It's because it's really key to helping you with the cravings.
Yeah, and actually not just protein and fiber together can help you to balance out your blood sugar levels, which is really good if you're trying to avoid, and obviously avoiding not just sugar, but trying to cut down on those white carbs, go for brown carbs, because what you want to do is keep yourself fuller for longer. That helps us to avoid snacking later on in the day. I would actually, before you go into the nitty gritty, I would actually think about planning, because this is the thing. It's all right saying you're going to eat this and this, but if there's nothing in the fridge or the cupboards and you haven't got a clue what you want to cook, then it's all going to go a bit wrong, to be honest. So start by figuring out what meals you can cook, and what's, if you're struggling to juggle life, work, and you haven't got a lot of time in the kitchen, just be realistic. So figure out what you're going to cook, work out a good shopping list, and then, just when you're thinking about what to eat, then you bring into that, right, I'm going to make sure I have plenty of vegetables. If you find it hard to eat vegetables, then think of easy ways to do it. Frozen veg, you can chuck, sweet corn, peas into anything, cut up vegetables in the fridge, carrots, cucumbers, peppers, so that there's something there for you to reach for. It sounds like you're really lazy, but honestly, if it's cut there and it's in a glass container, you're more likely to reach for it. And just think of really simple meals that are no hassle to cook. You don't have to go all ottolenghi in the kitchen. If you want a simple evening meal, scrambled egg on toast is perfectly healthy, and it takes about 5 minutes to cook. So be realistic, work out your food, and then get stuff in stock so it's there for you, ready to cook. And I think that is probably the best approach. And like I said, try and include some lean protein, some carbs, and lots of vegetables. When it comes to veganism and vegans, you asked about protein. There's loads of proteins. I get on my high horse about veganism. I'm not a vegan, but I'm really pushed to support them, because it's actually a really healthy way of eating. You can get everything you need on that diet if it's done properly. And protein is always slated, but it's dead easy. You've got soy foods, nuts, beans, pulses. There's loads of different foods. And as long as you're eating a variety, then you're going to get all of the amino acids, because people often talk about, you don't get those essential amino acids if you don't eat meat. It's not true. There's lots of complete proteins, quinoa, soy. What you want to do is just eat a good variety across the day, and you will get everything you need.
Absolutely. It's so true.
I think some people go in.
I mean, what I was going to say was, I was just going to say, it made me laugh there, because you're absolutely right. You hear people saying all the time, "Oh my God, you've gone vegan or vegetarian, but where are you going to get your nutrients from?" And then you look at them and their shopping basket is chock full of donuts and all the rest. Excuse me, where are you going to get your nutrients from?
One thing I will say about veganism, it has evolved. So it is actually becoming quite waggling my finger about. It has actually become quite easy to become an unhealthy vegan as well.
Oh yeah,
now.
True.
We've got this revolution of plant-based eating. So we've got now fast food stores and people doing versions of fish and chips and burgers. So you still need to be wary, because again, we talked about New Year's resolutions, that people go into veganuary and they're like, I'm going to do that because I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to look like Gwyneth Paltrow and I'm going to be all cool and earthy and it's great. But there's a vegan chocolate bar, a vegan brownie has got more calories and fat than a regular brownie sometimes. So you just need to still stick to the principles of healthy eating, even if you're going on that type of diet.
Totally.
So it's just being mindful, really, about it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've mentioned obviously fruit and veg, which is key, protein. What about the fats? Let's just talk about the fats, because years ago fat was demonized, and it isn't now, thankfully. So what would you say we need? I mean, in terms of omega-3, let's take that for example.
Yeah, I mean, so there's lots of different types of fats. So the fats you want probably have most of in your diet, the healthy fats, are monounsaturated fats. So, well, first of all, don't start thinking about fats you need to take out of your diet. Just focus on the fats that you need to include and make that your stuff, right? So they're healthy fats. So when you cook, switch to olive oil. You can use olive oil in any cooking, apart from deep frying. It's a myth. You can use it for anything. So use that. People like to use coconut oil. It's nice. Everything tastes of coconut. It's got these medium chain fatty acids that are meant to have quite a lot of health benefits. It's still high in saturated fat, but like I said, it's a different type. So, I wouldn't swap it for olive oil, but it's interesting to use in curries and things like that. Then you've got your nuts, seeds, avocados. These are all really healthy fats, lots of monounsaturated fats in there. And the reason we eat these is because they can reduce inflammation in the body. So inflammation is meant to be at the root cause of a lot of major diet-related diseases. This low-grade inflammation that over time can affect your, it can cause attack of different organs and cause damage. So these fats can also lower cholesterol, so it's great for your heart. And then we've got the polyunsaturated fats, which are good for you as well. You might want to have loads of omega-6 because we're trying to, omega-3, this omega-6, omega-3 balance that you might have heard about. So focus on omega-3.
369,
Yeah, the 369. I mean, you don't need to get hung up on it. It's just like, as long as you're not eating loads of processed foods and things like that, which have a lot of omega-6, and you're trying to eat oily fish a couple of times a week, which is really good for you, then that's great. And the omega-3s are great because, again, they help to reduce some of the risk factors for heart disease. So they can help to increase HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. They can help to thin the blood, so avoid clotting. And again, inflammation is a big thing for omega-3. And like you said, there's a big people are still setting that mindset on fat, that it makes you fat and it's really bad for you. But actually, fat is so nutritious and it does a lot in the body, a lot of really good stuff in the body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've actually got a bunch of questions, which I should have noticed before, so apologies. Let's do a few of them as quick as we can then, as I missed them out. So what do you think about does that say Noom method? I don't actually know what that is.
I'm really sorry, but I don't know what that is.
Okay, we'll pass on that one then. We got another question here. So I've been on some kind of diet since I was 12. Yeah, we all know how that feels. How do I reset my metabolism? It's such a good question in my 50s.
Yeah, it is I mean, 50s is tricky, right? So you're going through the menopause, and that can affect way. You get this middle, which is a nightmare to get rid of. So
tell me about it. I'm so glad you can only see my top half.
Oh, sorry. But, I mean, going into the menopause, it's good to try and maintain a healthy weight going into menopause. And obviously, you don't want to lose too much weight, because actually a little bit of fat is really good because it helps to offset some of the, you still produce estrogen through fat and hormones and stuff, so it can help to balance out the symptoms. I think what you need to do is focus also on how you really feel about yourself and the positivity of that thing. Don't try not to make the weight loss too much of a focus, because that will come with the steps that you take to change your behavior. Look at your body shape, how you can change your body shape with exercise. Make sure that you're eating the right things to start with, and look at a healthy, balanced approach, simple approach, and just try and make that the focus. If you've been doing this since you're 12 years old, your mind is just so focused on needing to lose weight, and it's not very healthy. And it's really easy to say that. It's really not that simple. But just try and change your mindset a bit about
I'm so glad. I'm so thrilled to hear you say that. I'm so thrilled to hear you say that, Rob, because you're 100% right. And I know I have friends who really don't necessarily eat that much, but it literally is that they're holding on. That phrase, what are you holding on to? And it's an emotional thing. It's really true.
It's an emotional thing, and you're very hormonal. And I'll go back to the menopause. Anxiety is, I think, one of the worst things for women to deal with, is that anxiety that occurs, and that can affect the way that you eat and everything else. So really, just like I said, really try and focus on, how you want to feel about yourself. Focus on healthy eating, enjoying food for once, instead of seeing food as the enemy. And, focus on, look at yourself and learn to love yourself in the way that your shape is, and try and focus on that a bit. Totally. And hopefully the weight loss will come. But if it's more difficult and it doesn't, don't let that send you off track and go on a binge, or, just really try and change your mindset.
Yeah. Let's try and just squeeze in a couple more questions.
Sure.
Yeah, this one here about, I'm your typical binge eater. What should I start to lose weight? What should I do to start to lose weight? Since quitting the booze, haven't seen any weight loss. Yeah, I mean, I think you've kind of answered that in a way, haven't you? Really, it is take your time.
And I think it's take your time. And if you're a binge eater, there's a chance that you've been going on diets. So be realistic. I'm saying, diets actually really work for some people. I'm going on about small changes, but actually I'm really open to people doing whatever works for them.
Of course.
Some people prefer to go on a diet and it works for them. They need the structure. It's a starting point. It's something to begin with, and that's great. They do come to an end, so you need to figure out what you're going to do afterwards, and don't think, my diet's finished, do what I want now, because it doesn't work like that. But what happens on diets often is when people are so focused on that diet is going to be the one that I lose weight on, if it goes wrong and they have a bit of a binge, they're like, sod it, I can't be bothered, it's all over. And then it all goes wrong. So if you are on a diet and you end up having a bit of a binge, write that day off and just start where you left off the next day, because it's absolutely fine. You've got a long life ahead of you. And if you're trying to lose weight, there's plenty of time. Don't be in a rush, and don't try not to get into that binge thing, and don't let it upset your long-term goals that you've set yourself.
In your book, the Detox Kitchen Bible, which I haven't read yet, I'm really looking forward to getting that book. Just give us a kind of overview of what's in there. I mean, you use the word detox in the title. What does detox mean to you?
Right. So first of all, the detox, I wrote this book with a friend of mine, and the Detox Kitchen is the name of a company. So we're not pushing a detox here, because we all know that detoxes don't really exist. It's become a common phrase for just going on a health kick, I think. But anything associated with detox is generally not good. Detox teas, detox tablets, that's not what I'm saying. What we're saying here is it's mainly plant-based eating. So what it is about learning to eat whole foods. We don't include sugar in our recipes. We kind of made it wheat-free and dairy-free so that it would be accessible for everybody, whether you're a vegan, whether you're lactose intolerant, or whether you just want to eat healthily. There's nothing more to it than that. And it's about getting as much bang for your buck. It's giving you recipes that are really easy to use. It's giving you recipes that use ingredients that are very easy to get hold of. And it's about cramming in as much good food as you possibly can into every mouthful. Because I think, for me, that is the key. It's about making your food as nutrient dense as you possibly can. And that's really easy. If you're having beans, sausage and chips, fine, we'll have a green salad on the side. I mean, I don't know what you're eating, but even if it's unhealthy, there's room for something to put in there to make it more healthy. Don't think it's not good, so I won't do anything. Always think in your mind, there is something I can do or something I can add to add
Yeah,
a bit.
it's so true. It's like, what can I add in? And then that helps
What
with
can
that
you add in?
mindset, the mindset of feeling deprived and, oh, I can't have that. You know, it's like the little toddler within us says, "Oh,
It
what
really
do you
is.
mean I can't have that? You know, I'm going to." Whereas if you can say, well, what can I add in? What amazing things can I now have? We got a
I
question
mean, the
here.
other thing I thought, oh yeah,
Carry on. Go ahead.
No, the other thing I was going to say is what we looked in with this book as well, which I found really interesting, is how food can sort of heal, if you like. So we looked at all different health conditions and the kinds of foods you can eat to possibly help with those conditions, or at least, you know, make things a bit easier, whether that's foods to help lower cholesterol, foods to help reduce symptoms of the menopause, foods to encourage good heart health, whatever it is, mind, you know, your mental health, that kind of thing. So, you know, nothing major like life-changing, but just stuff that can help you along the way, that's got research behind it to give you a bit of a helpful hand.
Yeah, I realized I kept promising we'd mention sleep, and I know that sleep is a big thing. You've written The Art of Sleeping. It's very connected to nutrition, isn't it? So you know, in this very short space of time we've got, what tips can you give us? I mean, is it true that certain foods will help us sleep? We hear that things like tryptophan and we'll you know, if we have a slice of turkey or some banana, it'll help us sleep. Is that true?
Yeah, so definitely. So yeah, I mean, first of all, I can tell you how alcohol affects your sleep, which is quite interesting.
Please
So
do.
we all know that when we drink too much, there's several things going on here. So it affects, first of all, it keeps you up. You know, it inhibits antidiuretic hormones, so you're going to be needing the loo more. It can make you dehydrated, but also what's going on, the different things going on as well with your sleep cycle. So, you know, you often go into that really deep sleep when you've had a bit too much to drink, and you're not getting enough REM sleep, which is that nice restorative part of your sleep. But then when the alcohol wears off, you're suddenly getting a lot of jittery REM sleep going on. And that's when you dream as well. So people often say, I have nightmares and really vivid dreams after drinking a lot. And that's really what's going on. So there's a lot of stuff there that's preventing you from sleeping. It also inhibits, you know, the uptake of certain minerals as well. So that's important. In terms of foods that you can eat, you mentioned tryptophan. So that's really good. Tryptophan's an amino acid. It's a very small amino acid compared to the other ones. So if you had turkey for dinner, you want to combine it with a carbohydrate, like, you know, some whole grain rice, because that increases insulin and that pulls all those other amino acids away, so that tryptophan can go into the brain and make serotonin, which is then made into melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So it can help us to increase the amounts of melatonin in our brain to assist with that sleep cycle. Magnesium, B vitamins are used to make melatonin as well. So just getting a varied diet with lots of plant-based whole food is going to ensure that you get plenty of those nutrients, those minerals in your diet, which is good for sleep. And then with sleep, there's loads of other stuff. I use the acronym BED, which is behavior, environment, and diet. So it's about the behaviors you do, you know, stop having too much blue light from your laptop before you go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Turn it off an hour before.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was life-changing for me with sleep, because I slept really badly, was actually, it sounds so stupid, but it was actually getting my sleep oasis right. So it was about my bedroom, and I needed it. It's like a hotel room. It's completely clear. It's cool. I've got bright bread linen that I wash every couple of days, because I like the smell of it. Helps get to sleep. You know, make sure everything's black out. It stinks of lavender. Everything I can do to make me walk into that room and go, I can't wait to get into bed, instead of walking in.
So
it
looked
like my wardrobe with vomited clothes everywhere.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, and you just
so
want to have that feeling of organisation, you know, nothing under the bed, because anything can distract you when you can't sleep. You're like, oh, it's really messy, I know, you know, and don't do anything else in the room. Well, apart from the obvious, but don't do anything else in the room that's gonna, you know, don't eat your dinner in there, don't work in there, keep all that, keep it somewhere else.
Yeah, totally true.
I've got a question here actually about vitamins to stop the cravings. I think what I didn't mention with the sugar, what works with some of my clients, and there is a health claim actually for this, is chromium. So some people find that taking chromium when they're trying to give up sugar helps the cravings.
Can we get that from any food stuffs, or only a supplement?
You can get it from broccoli actually, but I think that that's one of the richer sources. But I think if whilst you're starting to try and reduce your sugar cravings, I think it's quite a good one to invest in. You get it drops or tablets. The drops I think you have after you've eaten, and it's really useful. It helps to balance out glucose levels. So it might work. It might not work. It's just something you could try. It's not expensive.
Yeah, I've heard that apple cider vinegar might help reduce those sugar cravings. Have you heard of that one?
I'm a bit funny about this apple
Are
cider
you?
vinegar.
We better not get into that then. We're nearly over.
For me, I want to make it research based, and one of my clients is a supplements company actually. So if they've got a health claim, it means there's a lot of research behind that claim. So for me, if there's enough research, I would recommend trying something.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like there's enough research.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. Sadly, we've come to the end of our time. We could talk easily for several more hours. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for those of you who asked questions. There's a couple I didn't get to. Thank you, Rob. So we can find you at robhobson.co.uk as a registered nutritionist, and obviously
you can also go to my books, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Rob Hobson Nutritionist as well. So I post a lot of stuff about nutrition and diet up there.
Okay, great. And I'm at Janey Lee Grace, so I'm very easy to find. We'll have to follow each other if we're not already.
We will follow each other.
And you can check out thesoberclub.com. Thank you so much for being part of our little gang. We literally could talk forever on this stuff, couldn't we? I'd absolutely love to pick your brains on lots more stuff. We'll have to do something else. Maybe you come on my podcast. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you that, but anyway, there you go. You see, if you say yes now, you see all these other people are watching. You're gonna have to agree. All right, so really appreciate it. I guess we just finish up and say thank you very much for being part of our session on the Global Mindful Drinking Festival with Club Soda. Thank you.
That's great. Cheers. Thank you.